All right, so the first bill on today's agenda is House File 3379. Chair Schumacher, would you like to move your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that House File 3379 be re-referred to the General Register.
Awesome. We have 3 amendments. We will start with the A3.
Madam Chair, if I could just introduce the bill
Sorry, introduce
first,
the
please.
bill. I'm wanting to speed along here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. House File 3379 is intended to be a technical bill. Because of the things that we had seen over the summer for one of the programs in the human service area, the housing stabilization supports area, because the state had requested that the program be terminated and CMS had approved that. The intent with the bill today is to remove that from statutes so that when we're ready to bring that program back to the Department of Human Services, that the legislature has a check on that again. And I think we've learned with the way that the program was structured in its current form, and it was noted to me over the summer that there was a very bright, young, but foolish chair of the Reform Committee at the time when this was approved. We're just going to make a few changes to that. But really the idea is to have it out of statute so that we're in compliance with what the department had requested for the program to be terminated, that CMS approved for the program to be terminated. And so when it is ready to be brought back, the legislature is a part of that process to bring it back. And so with that, I will turn it over for amendments.
All right, so we'll start with the A3 amendment. No?
Mr. Chair, A3 is an amendment to A1 amendment.
There we go. Yes. Okay, wonderful. All right, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go to the A1 amendment.
Good choice, Madam Chair.
And all right, so Chair Knorr, please, would you like to move your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, I think that chair that you were explaining, I hope it wasn't you at that moment. So hopefully we can put the record straight. So I think also last year we put some safeguards to the program because we meant to make sure that the program was more functional. We put all those safeguards at that point. Regardless of that, I think the A1 amendment is more of a clarity of what is legislative intent, what is the role of legislature compared to what is the role of the executive branch. So this amendment has got 2 sections. One is whenever we have Medicaid waiver request or Medicaid state plan amendments as required, there's a requirement for public comment for 30 days, making sure that the text for those public comments are published on the website so that the public has got access to that information. On the second section of that amendment, it states that the commissioner shall not do the following. Number 1, terminate any Medicaid program, waiver, or benefit that is enacted legislatively, and also request that the agency not request assistance from the federal government to terminate any Medicaid or waiver or benefit that has been legislatively enacted. Likewise, we're stating that any time that there's substantial redesign in a Medicaid program or benefit, that it has to come through legislative process. So this is just more clarity of what is the role of the executive branch and what is the role of legislature. So that is just making sure that it's plain clear.
All right, I'd like to roll call this, and is there any further discussion?
Well, Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the amendment on that one.
Thank you.
So I will move the A3 amendment to the amendment for the A1 amendment there. And really, I appreciate Chair Knorr's work on this piece. I know we talked several times over the summer about what role the legislature has in this process, or what role the legislature is supposed to have in this process. And so we have that. There was some concern as we were reading through the amendment overall, and Chair Knorr and I have talked about this a little bit, that there was some concern that the legislature would have to be called back in for, if there were changes made during the interim, that the legislature would have to be called back in to have those changes. And we didn't want to have to keep a program going that the department was ready to terminate just because the legislature wasn't in office or in session at the time. And so offering the A3 amendment to the A1 amendment to feel more comfortable with the efforts of the A1 amendment for that, and give that to the group for consideration.
All right, discussion to the amendment.
Madam Chair and members, Mr. Chair, I think your intent is in good faith. But then the question that I have right here is, we have extended the authority given to the commissioner by allowing a commissioner to terminate any program based on credible allegations, nothing substantiated. So if the commissioner today decides that they're going to terminate assisted living program, does this section allow the commissioner to terminate without any authorization from legislative body?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Chair. From my reading of it, it would for that.
Chair Knorr.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, the question is, we haven't centered in this amendment, what happens to the participants who will be in that setting, in an assisted living, because it's a residential setting that is meant to provide services to seniors and people with disabilities who are in that setting? What will happen to those individuals when the program is terminated through executive branch legislation that we already have in front of us here?
Chair Schumacher.
Madam Chair and Chair Knorr, that process for what's laid out in statute already, I think it's a little light in that, and I think we'll be having further discussions in other bills this year on what the process is when that happens. But it's silent in this bill for that.
Chair Knorr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, as we deliberate on budget issues, what happens to that fiscal note that was associated with that budget in that specific program? Where does it go?
Chair Schumacher.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chair Knorr. It's my understanding that that rolls back in because these are forecasted programs back to the general fund.
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, don't you see the problem now? We're now dealing with the executive branch legislating, taking away codified legislation that says, we care about the people that we're providing services. We will prosecute and go after anybody who's committing fraud. But at the same time, we're looking into credible allegation. Is this not a tool that is already existing in the system using that section that is included in there, 256B.064? Is that not a process whereby we look at case by case? If I may ask can I ask the nonpartisan staff just to describe that whole section so that we can get a clear picture? Is this something that is already authorized under the law so that the commissioner can use when instances of program issues happen?
Mr. Chair and members, 256B.064 is the section of statute that governs MA sanctions and monetary recoveries, and the specific citation in the A3 amendment describes what a credible allegation of fraud is under that section, and it includes fraud hotline complaints, claims data mining, and patterns identified through provider audits, civil false claims cases, and law enforcement investigations.
Chair Knorr.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, you can see that it's a sanction that is already authorized for doing payment withhold based on credible allegations. So if we are giving the commissioner the authority to terminate any program or waiver or benefit based on that, technically we should just give our certificates to the other side and just walk away. And to me, this is a crisis that we cannot let happen. And so this amendment is not solving the problem of what we're trying to solve.
Chair Schumacher.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chair Noor. I appreciate the perspective on that. I see it just a little bit differently and just how it was presented here. If they've already have the exercises with that, this is more comfort language to go with the A1 amendment for that, and would ask for your support.
All right, so we have, oh, okay, Representative Huron.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, everybody. It's good to be back. So similar concerns to Chair Noor, but I'm just going to put it in terms that someone who's not a chair can say. And this amendment, Chair Schumacher, is effectively what the current administration and DHS have already done to human services. Your amendment would codify what they have already done and the measures they took, discounting several conversations and advice from community members, from legislators ourselves, that were explicitly meant to remove any sort of conversation and power from the people. Your amendment codifies that process and what we saw happen over the last several months. And, you know, I really caution this committee to give that kind of power to an agency when the legislators are the people meant to be serving our community. And I just, frankly, the administration and DHS royally screwed this process up by just deciding to terminate programs, by saying, we're not sure if we have authority to do this, so federal government, why don't you just, can you help us close this? Because, you know, like a 7-year-old, you didn't say we can't, but does that mean we can, right? That's what this codifies. And what the A1 does is says, no, you can't just do that. You have to give the option for the public to weigh in. You have to give the option for legislators who represent the public to weigh in. Throughout the interim, we had several meetings where the words of our constituents were not only discounted, but were laughed off, were shrugged off, or were left on the table while folks stormed out of the room, including our administrative staff and our governor. This is the kind of growing government through power and policy that I think none of us want to see. The A1 is the amendment that everyone wants to see, that if you want to make changes that affect people, people get to make that choice. And if that means that we have to come back to work for a few more days than 3 to 4 months out of the year, I think we're obligated to do that. I think we're obligated to meet that crisis and come in and do our jobs rather than try to savor 7 to 8 months off throughout the year where we can't do anything. We tried to come back. We tried to have a hearing. And because the administration and DHS wanted what's in your amendment to happen, they pulled the levers to make sure that we never got that hearing. So I just caution members again that if this is the direction that the committee wants to go, we might as well not have a Human Services Committee to make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Is there any further discussion? Representative Franzen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I may not have gone to the Learning Center. I went to a learning center. But what I do know about this bill is that if this amendment isn't passed, it basically says that we want fraud to happen unless the legislature steps in. And the legislators themselves do not call a special session, so we can't really come in and do a couple extra days of work unless it's agreed to by the governor to do so. And with all the fraud that has taken place in this state, billions and billions and billions of dollars, the legislature has not once been called in for a special session to deal with it.
Any further discussion? Yes, Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No one here accepts fraud at all. We are all against fraud. What we are concerned about is making sure our most vulnerable people, our people that we're supposed to serve in the state, continues to receive the services that they deserve. And what happens here is that when you have this kind of provision in there, people who are entitled and need the services are going to lose those services and be, as we've seen in the past, left on the side, not taken care of. In some instances, we've heard of reports that they've died. So as a result, we need to have our oversight in there so that the administration just can't turn around willy-nilly and terminate programs without decent programs to take care of our most vulnerable.
Representative Backer.
Yeah, thank you. You know, why this is a good amendment is exactly what you said, Representative Fisher, is because we want to make sure the dollars are being used for the people who need it. When dollars are being used for fraud actions or something else, that means we're taking services away. You and I are on the same page. We want to get the dollars to the right people, but it didn't work this time. And if we keep doing what we're doing, then we're going to continue to not provide the services to the folks who need it. And that's one of the things I kept hearing over the last couple of months. So this is a good common sense amendment. Thank you.
Representative Franzen.
I would say that we have had years and years and years to address fraud. And every time amendments were brought up when we were in the minority, they were either ruled out of order or they were voted down. And we are at this crisis now where we are the laughingstock of the nation. All the news stories about all the fraud that is taking place in Minnesota. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing. It's still embarrassing that nobody is ever held accountable. We got to this spot because it was allowed to get to this spot. And now there are some consequences that are going to be paid. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But we have to end the fraud and make sure that it's going to, the money, the tax dollars are going to the people that actually deserve it and not people that are sending their money overseas, buying fancy cars and new homes, and just ripping off the Minnesota taxpayer.
Chair Knorr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know, Mr. Chair, some people will get confused with this whole process, but let's call it a spade a spade. This is not the legislation that is going to stop fraud. It's not. It does not. Because we have to be able to first stop fraud before it happens. It's our responsibility to put those safeguards. And if we fail and start finger pointing at each other, we have failed the state of Minnesota. We're here to get to work to solve the problem. And whereby before it happens, before anything is created, we have to be able to hold ourselves accountable. Are we putting the safeguards necessary? Are we making sure that we're holding agency accountable? Are we holding ourselves accountable? Because we can't blame somebody else when we're sitting here deliberating in how we fix problems. And if there's a problem, it's our problem. And if we don't fix it, nobody else is going to fix it. So let's get to work and solve the problems that are before us. And I think there's a necessary tools that we can put in the system that will help deter the process of those who are committing fraud, stop it before it happens. Because if we're going to chase up after things have happened, we have failed. Those are things that we have to discuss this session and to be able to give the confidence, the trust. Remember, there are people who are elderly, disabled, individuals who are depending on us to make sure that we protect them and we protect the services that they're getting. And that is our role. And I know I had conversations with the chair. We're going to have continued conversation in how we protect the system so that nobody commits fraud. At the same time, the individuals who are now thrown to the streets, who are struggling, they matter the most. They're the victims of this whole process. And we don't need to victimize more without having those guardrails. So, Mr. Chair, I think we've had some conversation that we're going to be having more deep dive into this, and I think we will continue to have. So I'll withdraw the amendment so that we can continue to have that conversation based on our conversation that we had last night. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Knorr. All right. Okay. All right. So we will Do you have any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I
Schumacher?
think you'll want to announce for the record that the A1 amendment was withdrawn.
So the A1 amendment has been withdrawn, and we are back to the A3 amendment.
Well, the A3
Then
amendment
it's-
doesn't have
Then
a
that's gone too.
ship to sail on with
Everything's-
that one. So, Madam Chair, if I could please move the A2 amendment. This is a technical amendment from the nonpartisan team to clean this up a bit more.
All right, so would you like to move your A2 amendment?
I move the A2 amendment.
All right. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, nay? All right, the A2 amendment is adopted. Oh, further discussion to the bill. Thank you so much. Okay, I see no further discussion to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I will renew my motion that House File 3379 be re-referred to the General Register, and thank the members for the discussion today. Obviously, this is just one step in the process. We just want to try to get the ball rolling a little bit. We could have maybe, and I'll just make this one little editorial note, and to thank Chair Knorr, because our day was supposed to be tomorrow, and this bill was supposed to come up, but I have some things that are going to pull me out of town tomorrow, and so he was gracious enough to switch up the days for us, and that's why some of this got to be a little bit more or a little bit faster paced than what it needed to be with that, and I apologize for that part of it. And so as we move forward with this, there's going to be further communication and further discussion on not only this issue, but some larger issues, and I'm looking forward to the work that we're going to be able to get done this session to help the people that were actually out here to try and help. And so thank you for that and ask for your support.
Wonderful. So Chair Schumacher renews that House File 3379 as it's not amended, be placed, it is amended, yes, thank you, be placed on the General Register. All those in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, nay. The motion passes. House File 3379 is recommended to be placed on the General Register.
Thank you, members.
There we go.